Well, here it is, midwinter, and really midwinter. It's my birthday week, and I was renowned for having birthday parties in the pouring rain. Little girls running inside with presents, trying to get to the door without getting soaked. I remember one day it fined up a little bit, ran outside my little blue velvet dress, fell in the mud. It was the curse of coming with a birthday in July, but at the same time, it's nice to see space between Christmases. So material wise, it did well for me. But here we are. Is it global warming? Is it good fortune? But what a glorious day it is. And being 1 year older than I was last year, I have a little more wisdom. And the wisdom today is about ambition. And it's interesting that I mentioned material goods, because when we speak about ambition, often the first thing we fall upon is the thought of, who am I going to be? How am I going to get to the top? How much money am I going to earn? Goals, goals, goals. And we do a lot of goal setting when I work, where I work. You know, what are your goals? What are you going to be? Where are you going to go? How are you going to get there? And how much money are you going to earn? And how many things will you be able to have? And if you watch that documentary, I Am, the movie director there had become obsessed with owning more and more, and until he realised that wasn't what made him happy. And that's the point, you see, that we talk about ambition and we think about the material things, and we want to be number one. You know, are you going to be number one? Are you going to be first? Did you get first? Did you win? And if we take a bit of wisdom from Maury, Tuesdays with Maury, fantastic book, movie, you got to read it, see it. One of Maury's wisdoms are that the sports team were all shouting, we're number one, we're number one. And Maury stopped in the middle of the game, stood up, he's the professor at the college, and he goes, what's wrong with being number two? And when you think about it, really, what is wrong with it? What is so right about being number one and not being 2 or 3 or 4? But this isn't really a talk about how we shouldn't be materialistic. This is more a talk about, where's your ambition lying in terms of your soul and your spirit? Where are you hoping to go with that? Because yes, we talk about goals for academic success and sporting prowess, and a goal to have a tidy room or clean shoes, or I'm going to be head girl one day. But what about the goals for your spirit? How are you going to be sure that you're looking after that very, very important part of you that doesn't earn any money or doesn't need any possessions? But when we pass away, it's that soul that's going to meet the fullness of God after death. How can we not say that's not the most important thing we should be looking after? That our ambition should be driven to nurture our soul and our spirit. So you've got to take some time to think, how do I nurture my soul? What do I do? What am I focusing on that is going to make me a more loving person? Because obviously, if God is love, then the goal for our spirit has to be loving. So what are you doing to be more loving? Do you look at each of your relationships with the people you live with and work with and play with, and how much do you work on being the loving person? Sounds like a interesting chopper in the distance, but how much do you work on being loving? And are we going to keep going? and if you have that love, then, as Pope Francis has said in his recent document, how could you fail to share that love with somebody else? And so if you get a love of what comes from the gospel, how could you fail to pass that on to someone? How could you keep it and not spread it? So maybe one of your ambitions needs to be, how am I, as I'm growing up or as I'm maturing, going to spread that love and going to spread that joy and going to spread that gospel and going to spread the good news and going to be someone whose soul is nurtured enough to share it with other people. So instead of focusing on an ambition for I'm going to be number one, it's I'm going to be loving. That's my goal. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to share. I'm going to give. And maybe those kind of ambitions free us up to have better relationships with all the people around us. And then if someone says, wow, that's an amazing person, I'll give them a great job, there's a really good bonus. But let's look at ambition for our spirit, ambition for our soul, and nurture a really good relationship with God, and then spread that with other people. And maybe that's what our ambition should really be. So, wow, that wood chopping sound has stopped now and it's all peaceful. So take a moment of peace and close your eyes and think, how am I nurturing my soul? What's my ambition for my spirit? What, in a year's time, where do I want my spirit to be? Not have I earned more money, but am I more loving? Am I more kind? Have I given more? And that, I think, will be the most satisfying ambition of all.